Welcome to the first episode of the new segment by me, Matteo, and Jacob, which is On the Radar.
Yeah, we'll be bringing you your weekly dose of aviation news, as we said, every week. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and also get commenting with your thoughts on all the stories. Let's go.
On the news this week, LATAM Airlines collided with a fire truck on the runway in Lima.
Yeah, 2 firefighters have died after a plane crashed at Peru's busiest airport. The LATAM Airlines flight collided with a truck just before 15:30 on Friday at the Jorge Chavez International Airport. There's obviously the viral video going around social media, which is has been widespread, and it shows you the extent of what happened. Luckily, there were no passengers or flight crew were killed. The airline confirmed on Twitter, but sadly, two firefighters have died who were in the fire truck which collided with the aircraft.
Yeah, no passengers or flight crew were injured or killed, as the airline stated on Twitter. However, it was discovered that in the wake of the accident, the flight crew of LA 2213 were arrested immediately and held in custody.
Weird.
You never ever expect flight crew to be arrested. It's more of a just culture and kind of a learning culture.
Yeah.
After discovering their arrest, IFALPA, which is the equivalent to BALPA
in the UK,
which is like the pilot union, basically, voiced their concerns as the union emphasises that the flight crew should have been provided immediate medical care and evaluation before being subjected to criminal arrest.
Yeah, I guess if you've just hit a fire truck, then mentally you're probably not in the right place then to go get locked up behind some bars is pretty crazy. The pilot's release likely came as Peruvian officials discovered that the fire trucks crossing the runway were taking part in a nearby fire drill, which was what was theorised on all social media platforms, but hadn't been confirmed up until a couple of days ago. The drill was part of a disaster response exercise required as part of the preparations for the new runway that were due to be ready in January. But on the whole, it's a pretty sad story, and it's very lucky that a lot more people weren't killed.
I think they were very fortunate to have gotten out of that with a lot less fatalities than what there were.
Yeah, you'd think the investigation would be pretty straightforward as to what happened. So I
think questions will rise on whether they were right to have arrested the flight crew immediately.
Yeah.
Or even in general, just...
We'll see what... I'm sure the future will bring answers. With the World Cup kicking off this week, Virgin Atlantic have flown the England team to Doha to bring football home, finally.
The England football team had been flown to the 2022 World Cup in Qatar aboard Virgin Atlantic's Rainbow plane. Aircraft Golf Victor, Papa Romeo, Delta and Airbus A350 has the name Rainbow emblazoned on the side.
Big word.
Alongside the carrier's LGBTQ plus icon Oscar. The Virgin Atlantic spokesperson said, "As a British flag carrier, we're proud to fly England men's football team to the FIFA World Cup."
On a side note, I always thought British Airways were the flag carrier of the UK.
Yeah, so did I. I did not have a clue that Virgin Atlantic was the British flag carrier. Or is. I didn't know that you can have more than one.
Neither. It's a contentious subject that we will have to bring you on the next episode.
Oh, perhaps. Stay tuned.
The A350-1000 Rainbow has 44 upper class seats, 56 premium and 235 economy seats. Now my question is, who got what seats? I'm sure the players would have got the premium, the upper class seats.
Yeah, of course.
Where do you reckon Southgate will be sat? I reckon he's a humble man. He's sat in economy, puts the team first, necking all the Bloody Marys at the back. But it's not the only airline that is using the World Cup flight as an opportunity to champion LGBTQ plus rights. Tongue twister. Lufthansa has also made a statement by flying the German football team to Qatar in what they call a diversity plane. Diversity Wins proclaims the Airbus A330 nicknamed Fanhansa, if I pronounced that right, with a slogan painted across its fuselage. Now, I think this is an interesting revelation because obviously, with the whole controversy shrouding the World Cup in Qatar, I think this is a strong statement from both airlines mentioned.
Both airlines are pretty heavy hitters,
yeah,
to be fair.
Flying such a message into what could be, it could turn out to be a controversial point.
It's already arrived with a lot of controversy in itself, regardless.
Fair play to them.
Aviation regulators are now pushing for more automation with ICAO, so flights can be run by a single pilot.
Yeah, regulators are pushing the UN's International Civil Aviation Organization to examine ways of making single pilot operations the eventual norm in commercial flights.
In a working paper filed with the aviation standards body, the EU Aviation Safety Agency EASA requested on behalf of member states that necessary enablers be created for a safe and globally harmonised introduction of commercial air transport. Operations of large airplanes with optimised crew / single pilot operations while ensuring an equivalent or higher level of safety compared to that achieved in current operations.
Yeah, so there are two obvious drivers for this proposal. One being cost cutting and the other being crew shortages. Technology has over the decades reduced the need for more and more people to be in the cockpit, and the hope is that further improvements can be made to take it down from 2 to 1. But this has been met with some
a hell of a lot of scrutiny as well.
Yeah.
Many people are opposing whether they're passengers or actual current pilots. I know that the head of the Australian Pilots Union, who's also a captain or senior captain for Qantas, if I'm not mistaken, on Airbus A330s.
Yeah.
He also said that when something goes wrong on an aircraft, not often, it's rare, but when it does go wrong, it goes wrong quick. And as a lot of people have already stated, that pilots, they can miss certain things out, and the other pilot...
fallible, right? Humans are fallible, so...
Yeah, but if one pilot misses something, the other pilot tends to pick it up. If there's only one pilot on there, then what's going to happen? I mean, it's just like a good example was the flight from Paris to Rio de Janeiro, the Air France that went down in the Atlantic. At the time, the captain was resting, and there were two pilots in the flight deck. Now, they were getting erroneous airspeed readings, obviously due to blocked sensors. Within the 90 minutes of the captain coming into the 90 seconds of the captain coming back into the cockpit when something was going wrong, the plane was already in an aerodynamic stall, which was unable to recover from.
Yeah, and I did read something about the Qantas captain who was part of the Qantas flight 31, where the A380, its engine blew up, or had a uncontained failure, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And he just shunned them all. He said it's silly. You need 2 pilots.
Minimum.
End of. Yeah. I know on that specific accident as well, there was 3 pilots in the cockpit, I think, because they managed to drag one of the others to help and brainstorm. But yeah, I think this is an argument that's going to be dragged on for a long time.
Definitely.
But yeah.
This definitely won't be coming into fruition anytime soon.
Yeah. And the final piece of news is that a new Atlantic, or should I say transatlantic airline is in the works of being launched. We spoke about this on a podcast recently about whether the budget airlines could make strides in the transatlantic market, and Flight Atlantic, they might be the ones.
Yes. They plan to launch a new transatlantic airline at Belfast International Airport, which is surprising, in summer 2024.
I wonder if that's to do with the getting customs out of the way or something like that, because I know in Ireland you can clear American customs.
But what about Northern Ireland?
Great point. Might have to cut that one out.
It aims to fly to the US, Canada, Britain and European destinations. Once fully operational, plans to fly to 35 different destinations.
Yeah, the initial announcement is the first stage in its plans. The next steps will be securing an aircraft and a license. So it's very in the pipeline. This is newborn. Let's say. Initially, the airline says it will employ 50 people at Belfast International and 250 crew, which is a fair whack of crew, I think, for a start-up.
Pretty modest-sized airline.
And it says it plans then to create 1,000 jobs in the first 5 years, with the indirectly creating thousands more in tourism and support sectors.
The new airline says it will create a major hub linking Europe with North American destinations to supplement local passenger numbers. I find that kind of difficult to believe, though, with Belfast being what it is. The location.
Do you know what I think it is? I think what they're doing is they're linking America to the low-cost market in Europe. Because from Belfast you can get to anywhere low cost in Europe.
Yeah.
Of course you can. The only drawback being this is that they don't provide the security of whole carriers, if that makes sense. If that flight's delayed from New York, wherever, to Belfast, and you miss your next flight, you're paying for a new one, mate. That's the only thing. So we'll see if they can sort that out. It will initially operate 6 aircraft at its base, growing the fleet to 18 by 2028. So we're a fair way off. So 6 years off it being a modest airline, let's say.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what aircraft they actually operate, especially because it's well known that even 737s are able to make the jump from destinations such as Belfast over to the US. So they could see them in operation rather than wide-bodied. However, probably to get more people on board, more fuel efficiency as well, I'm assuming wide-bodied, or even airlines such as the 75.
It's an interesting dilemma, I think, for them to work out, which I'm very intrigued to see. Who knows, we might be flying for them one day. Yeah. I won't mind a quick trip over to the NYC.
It'd be interesting to see, definitely.
Yeah. But that is it. We were looking for a light-hearted story to finish on, but it's been quite a dark week for aviation this week, with the recession being announced and the LATAM crash. And
quite a few crashes.
Yeah, it's not been the best week for aviation, but
I wouldn't say so.
But yeah, that's us. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment on, especially on what you think about the single pilot situation. And we will see you next time, right?
Yeah, definitely. And share this.
And don't forget to listen to the podcast, The Whip, as we call it internally.
The Wingin' It podcast, yes.
Twip, Whip, whatever you want to call it. But adios, we'll see you soon.
Thank you.